So I would love to say thank you to everybody for joining us on this webinar or Zoom meeting. And we really appreciate your being here for this exciting conversation about what is related to small businesses, the lifeblood of a community, and also to children, the lifeblood of all of us. So we really want to pair these two together and talk about how important they are. This is being hosted by Seed New Mexico, whose aim is to provide a small business voice to support policies promoting sustainable, equitable economic development. I don't want to say anything else because we have some great speakers who will be going. And so without further ado, I would love to pass this over to Ellie. And Ellie is joining this Vote Yes for Kids campaign. You will hear that she has more than enough energy for 60 of us. So, Ellie is going to give us a little bit of an overview. And Ellie, while you're talking, I'm going to play with the slides a little bit so I can fix Marlene's name.
That sounds perfect, Sandra. Thank you so much. Hello, everybody. My name is Eli Cuna. I'm the campaign manager for Vote Yes for Kids. This is historical ballot question that we're gonna be facing in New Mexico. So let's start for breaking up this campaign for the education and the outreach that you should know. So in 2022, this November 8th, there's gonna be a ballot question asking you as a voter to reallocate the school permanent fund. Next question comes to mind is, what is this permanent school fund? Well, this permanent school fund is pretty much the savings of New Mexicans that was based on the displacement, extraction, and exploitation for the past centuries, right? Is the people's money. Is the money, is your money, my money, the money of a lot of working families across the state. And now there's gonna be an opportunity to have access to this saving account, this money, and invest it in education. We're talking about around $24 billion. $24 billion. That is like a lot. I cannot even, I was trying to imagine how much is that means. But also, if you think about it, this is the second largest permanent school fund in the whole country. But we are the second lowest in performance in education. That is telling you everything that you need to know. We are in really bad businesses here. We cannot be having the second largest savings account and wealth of people's money when we have the second lowest state in education. And that is what this opportunity is about in November 8th, where the voter is gonna say, you know what? I wanna use my savings, my money that I have been working really hard, which one also, let me just be clear. This is not real, I'm using the wrong name about savings account because this is an investment account. It's never gonna disappear. It continue increasing the revenue of this account because of the company, oil and gas production, because of real estate and other revenues in the state, right? Now that we're gonna have like also cannabis and Netflix and Amazon, all these revenues are continue putting money on this account. So the savings are not, and it's the savings account that never gonna run out because it's an investment account, right? And what we are asking is that we wanna use these $24 billion to really allocate a minimum of 120 millions in early childhood education. That means investing in our New Mexican kids since the year 0 to 5, and then investing 75 millions every year in K through 12. And how are we gonna invest it? In high quality, high compensation, and bringing more jobs. This is a huge opportunity. This ballot question is an opportunity to really restore or a small business interaction to education. This is a restoration also for increasing salaries and compensation for all workers. This is an opportunity to really bring diversification of economy in rural areas, and also for those folks that are focusing in early childhood businesses. So this is a huge opportunity that we are facing this year. And it will be keeping investing for the next 4 generations almost. So I'm super excited really to be able to have this conversation. At the end of the day, you are gonna make the decision to vote yes or no for this ballot question. But what you need to know is this is the money that you have built up with your family, loved ones, and community. And this is a money that is gonna be accessible now to invest in the best asset in New Mexico, that is ourselves. We need to invest in ourselves, right? We need to invest in our own community. In that way, we have thriving upcoming generations. And we need 369,000 votes in November 8th to make this happen. And we are more than excited that you share this piece of education with other small businesses and other entrepreneurs to see how this will really pivot the economic system of New Mexicans. Even to have the access of childcare free, that was already mentioned in some of this year, that is gonna be now possible, probably with this ballot question. So if you have any other questions around it, what is this gonna do, where it's gonna be in the ballot, it's not gonna be in the front page of the ballot, you're gonna need to flip it. And that is something that we're gonna need to remind everybody. Flip the ballot in November 8th and make sure that you vote yes for the constitutional amendment that will reallocate the permanent school fund. And that will be giving over $200 million to the public education towards teacher compensation, enhancing programming, and really doing, developing the programming that students at risk need for them to thrive. And that's what I have from you all. And I hope that if you have any question, please feel comfortable to ask me. So.
Wow, Ellie, thank you very much. Does anybody have any quick questions for Ellie before she has to run off to one of her 700 daily meetings? So
I have a quick, very big question, so I doubt you can summarize it, but maybe you can email us later, Ellie. Thank you for that summary. I was wondering, given how much money we're spending and how little efficiency we're seeing compared to other states, do we know what the factors are in other states as to, like the states that have the best public schools? Are they doing something New Mexico's not doing that we know of?
Yes, there's a couple of case studies that I can share with you, but what I know is this is gonna be the first model of its kind, using the land grant permanent fund, that is the permanent school fund, to really allocate in high quality programming that will let it be sustainable. The majority of the other programs across the nation are really dependent of the feds. And this is the first kind of its own model of sustainability that is about we are building for the upcoming 4 or 5 generation in a fund using money that will not run out, because we're gonna continue having income in that money. So I can share the case study, and I can share it with Sandra, and then make sure that she share it with you all. But it's gonna be the first in kind that the state changed the constitution to really have access of their own money to build up and strengthen the public system.
I'll just quickly mention that I'm going to show an info page later, but I want to mention it before Ellie leaves, that we're at CNM with like links to stuff like the case study that you mentioned. That would be a perfect thing to add to our we're calling it an info page backgrounder. I think I sent it to some of you. So our plan is to keep that updated. So let's make sure we get that on there.
Awesome. And maybe, Marlene, if it's okay with you, maybe there's some things that you can think of when it, because you'll be up next. So maybe there are some things that you can say that might also answer Trisha's question. Are there any other questions for Ellie?
Can I ask a quick question? And by the way, Trish, that was a wonderful question. What's working somewhere else? I'm just curious, having moved back to New Mexico 1,000 years ago, but since I came back, I always hear about this permanent fund, and then nothing ever happens with it because they say it's for a rainy day. Well, when's in a rainy day? So what do you think is, or what objections will you hear from the other side, and how can we overcome them to get ahead of that? Is there something that's the usual argument about, well, we shouldn't spend the money on that because of whatever? So I'd sure like to know that ahead of time. So maybe I can help get ahead of that in some of my communications to my communities.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Stacy, for that comment, because in fact, that was the strongest argument for the past almost 15 years. Until it's no coincidence that the reality of New Mexico is shifting, and the diversification of business and how it's shifting as well, right? We have now the cannabis industry. We have now also big companies coming to develop the headquarters. We now have green energy coming to the state. So there is a lot of other possibilities that I think that make a lot of the folks that use this argument of let's not use this money for the rainy days to come to an agreement in the legislation and vote yes to put this in the ballot, because they see, well, there's more business coming. There's only one thing is going to happen to this fund. It's going to continue increasing, right? There's going to continue being revenue. So that is, but what that was the reality that they saw. That's why they vote just to put it in the ballot. What we need to really encourage our voters is to see that is an investment. We're not gonna take away money from our for our savings, or we should be scared of, because we're gonna be investing in the upcoming generation. And that is something that I think is the hardest part of this campaign. Sometimes is to really see ourselves as we are worthy to get invested on. Our kids are worthy to get invested on. And it's gonna come with benefits in the long term. And their money is not gonna run out. This scarcity and kind of like a fear is what is gonna be our biggest challenge in this campaign. And let know people that people is worth it and they matter. That's why we should invest money in ourselves.
I just wanna, I can't compete, Ellie, with that, with that particular really critical element. But I think another thing, if you look at the strict economics, is that for any of the surveys that have been done of businesses thinking of moving to New Mexico, one of the main challenges that they find is the educational system. And so, in fact, this will help build the permanent fund, both permanent funds, because they will see that we believe we are worthy as New Mexicans, and so we're investing in ourselves.
Well, and I think if I were to speak to friends who are very conservative about politics and spending money, they would say specifically, what are we spending this money on? Because everybody, hopefully most reasonable people agree we should be investing in our kids and our futures. But I imagine that's where the blowback comes from the opposing side, right? And I imagine, is it true, Ellie and Sandra, that it's the legislature that will allocate these funds, and therefore Democratic legislature, and also, you know, just those decisions haven't been made yet. There's not a plan officially for how to spend them. Would that be accurate? I mean, I'm in favor of this vote. And so I'm curious to what the opposition would say.
Ellie, can you respond to that on how, and then I promise we'll let you go. How will the funding be allocated? Because that's one of the fears. Is it going to be just a boondoggle for somebody, or how are we going to decide how to spend it?
Yeah, in fact, the legislation body will be developing the budget, right, in 2023. So there is where your voices are gonna be crucial for 2023. The standards and the criteria is what is the language that we have in the ballot question. The ballot question says really clear that the resources are gonna be for enhancing programming. That means high quality. We need high quality of programming and also instruction and also vendors around. The second one is when they mention that there's gonna be increase of compensation. Teacher compensation, which one is really different to talk about administration compensation or other kind of roles in the education system. And then lastly, the ballot question is mentioning that it's gonna be to develop the programming of support for the kids at risk or the students at risk. So it goes back to the quality and also to make sure that they have a functional infrastructure in place. So that is the criteria that the legislation is gonna use to develop the budget. Which one are some of the places that are gonna be heavily invested? Is rural areas, tribal land, and that's one of the places they're gonna be advocating heavily for not being forgotten in this appropriation of resources. Also, another thing is that when you open this amount of money to the public education, and then now you have a huge opportunity to really get accountability. So there's gonna be an accountability and revision of expenditure and how that money has been allocated every year through the legislation. So that is something that you should know.
Wonderful.
What I do think is the opposition, and this is like me, is my individual opinion. I think opposition see this as an opportunity, and I don't think they don't want this to pass, but I think they're gonna have heavy lobbyists in the legislation to try to influence how to spend that money. That's what I think.
Well, thank you so much, Ellie. We really appreciate your vision and your inspiration. And if I could be half as eloquent as you, I would be so thrilled. Thank you very much for helping us, helping put this all in perspective. And we will let you go back to your 1,001 things.
No, thank you so much. I really appreciate you all, and thank you so much for showing up and be able to get inspired by this opportunity that we have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ellie.
Thanks, Ellie. So Marlene, if we could pass it over to you, and I apologize that we couldn't do the interpretation. We have to figure out how to do that for the next time. But if you could give us a little bit of a feel for what it's like from a provider's point of view. Our focus here is on looking at childcare and at early childhood education as small businesses. But if as small businesses, we don't have the point of view of the educators, then we're not connected to reality. So if you could just quickly introduce yourself and talk a little bit about what the situation is that you're facing and how you see things possibly changing. Maybe 5 minutes or so in total. That would be great. And thank
Sandra,
you.
could I quickly suggest we turn screen share off for a bit?
Yes, sorry.
I think I tried to message and I sent it only to one person. Thanks.
Thank you. So Marlene, it's over to you.
Sí va a ser en español, ¿verdad?
Voy a tratar, si usted puede hablar muy lentamente. Hay alguien aquí que habla español más que yo. Podemos todos tratar de traducir. Gracias, Marlene.
Ok, pues mi nombre es Marlene Gallegos. Tengo 9 años trabajando con niños. Tengo mi centro de aprendizaje y cuidado infantil en casa. Y la verdad, desde la pandemia para acá, ha repercutido negativamente. Perdí el 75% de mis clientes por no tener fondos para poder pagar un empleado. Y eso la verdad es muy triste porque lejos de ser un negocio, un pequeño negocio o algo para poder invertir, es como un trabajo de sobrevivencia lo que estoy pasando ahorita. Lo que estoy ganando nada más es básicamente para...
Sorry. Voy a olvidar lo que dije. So Marlene has been in this business for about 9 years. And anybody else, please correct what I get wrong or forget. Has a childcare business at home, I think. And it's been very difficult during the pandemic, especially as a small business, because all of the impacts that have happened everywhere else have been much stronger for those in a home-based childcare business. And then I was getting lost. So Sarah, Trish, Marlene.
I think she was mentioning that because she didn't have the funds coming in like normal, she can't keep an employee.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great point. The home-based childcare businesses being hit even harder. I wonder how many people on this call got PPP funding or anything like that during COVID, but let's not get into that, or we'll not get into our education.
Pues sigue Merlin, y si puede decir algo en corto, puede recordarme porque tengo el pelo pero no tengo una cabeza que puede traducir muchas palabras a usted. Merlin, no entendemos.
¿Puede alguien interpretar por mí? Tengo a mi esposo aquí conmigo.
Muchas gracias.
Good afternoon.
Okay, ya dijeron lo de
Okay, she's saying that she had lost 75% of her clients, and she could even might lose her business because of that.
No puedo cerrar porque estoy dando soporte a los demás papás que están trabajando, pero se me está haciendo cada vez más difícil la situación.
She said that she can't close her business because she's helping a lot of the families and around the area, and it's hard for her to keep it up and for all the expenses, and everything has doubled up.
Es una situación que estamos enfrentando varias colegas de la región. No soy la única que está teniendo esta crisis tan difícil.
A lot of the childcare providers are facing the same situation.
No soy la única que está enfrentando esto.
And she's not the only one going through the same problem.
Estamos buscando una solución porque no tenemos pues como el respaldo para poder seguir con el negocio.
They're trying to look for a solution because they don't have the support to fix the problem.
Wow. So are you, Merlin, are you working with other childcare providers to help to move this ballot question forward? Will that help you?
Trabajando con otros proveedores para ayudar para la causa.
Pues tengo contacto con ellos, pero yo ahorita estoy trabajando sola. Estoy haciendo el papel de maestra, directora, administradora.
Sí, pero para la causa nosotros
con las maestras de educación temprana.
Yes, she said that in the meantime she's doing it for herself, but there's also other childcare providers there. They are supporting the movement.
And do you think it will help?
Dice que si tú crees que va a ayudar.
El cambio en Nuevo México, sí, claro que sí.
She says that the change in New Mexico will help and alleviate everybody's problems.
Estamos apoyando la campaña porque queremos un cambio en Nuevo México. ya estamos cansados de esta situación y sí se requiere la ayuda de, pues, de todos los nuevos mexicanos.
They say that they're supporting the movement in New Mexico because they're tired of the situation and they want to see a change. And there's a lot of people supporting it.
Awesome.
And I imagine, Sandra, if the bill does pass, the legislature would act on those allocations in the next legislative session in 2023, right?
I think they, yeah, I don't know. Other people may do better at, I don't know, Stacy, you may know more how quickly they move forward. But I would guess 2023. Stacy, you're muted.
You're muted, Stacy.
Yeah, no, I don't know that answer. Yeah, I'm sorry. I could look it up, and get back on that one, but.
It might be worth, for those of us who are in support, reaching out to our legislative people. Like, I'm downtown, so Javier Martinez and what used to be Jerry Ortiz y Pino represent our districts. And I was just thinking how for Merlene, I would recommend the same for her, the people who support this and the explaining the dire need for people like early childcare providers.
I think, Marlene, it's really interesting because you have the challenges of a child care provider and also the challenges of a small business. So one of the things that this group is going to try to do is to say why it's important for small businesses. So you can wear the one hat of the child care provider and also the hat of the small business. So I think maybe we'll move to the other panelists to talk about small businesses, but maybe we can continue to engage to figure out whether there's a way we can all work together that will help childcare providers as well.
Sandra, can I ask a quick question? I'm just thinking of the smaller childcare providers like Marlene. How is the state communicating with, obviously with the public school systems and tribal lands? Those are more broad organizations or school systems, but how do people like herself get communication or get the funding? Do we know? I mean, that might be something with the opposition, is like, how is the money actually going to get to everyone in an equitable way?
Good question. I don't know the answer, but that's a good question.
Okay.
Marlene, do you have any kind of last comments, and then we'll transition to the panel, and maybe you can also translate what the panel says. Would that be okay?
Let me check the time because I gotta go back to work.
Sorry. No.
Awesome. Get going. Okay, I got another 15 minutes.
Awesome. So, so if you don't mind staying, we really thank you for doing your impromptu translation.
No problem.
And so maybe we can transition to the other panelists, and maybe you can translate for
Actually, for the record, I'm acting as assistant teacher. I work with the city of Las Cruces. But I'm her assistant teacher, her janitor, her maintenance guy, and everything with little no pay.
So you see the challenges of small business as well.
Yes.
Wow. Well, let us transition, and if you don't mind translating as long as you can, that would be great. And then this will also be recorded so we can revisit the conversation later. But if I can figure out how to make my, slide move, there we go. We are, of course, off on time, but what I'd like to do is have the small business folks just go quickly around and talk quickly about your business and the way that early childhood education and childcare resonates with you as a business owner. And we've just put people in alphabetical order. So, so Sarah, if you wouldn't mind starting, and just try to keep it for really quick.
I'll keep it simple. I am Sarah Farrell. I am the co-owner and co-director of the Albuquerque School of Healing Arts. We're a massage school, so we're like a vocational training program, adult education. We just graduated our first group of students last week. So we're putting more people into the workforce. This is anybody 18 and over. We do hope soon to offer a bilingual program because there is a lot of interest from the Spanish-speaking community. But the way that this ballot bill, you know, I feel passionate about it for a lot of reasons. One, because I'm a parent, and before I opened this school, I had a very small business as a massage therapist for 18 years, running a private practice. And it's very challenging with 2 young kids. You know, it was just stressful. And I think, you know, anything we can do to support young families and take care of children is just going to be good for everybody, because there's more safety, more education, and less stress in the home. So I've seen the disparities with, you know, just different families struggling and not being able to take advantage of opportunities. But another way it directly relates with us is that we have a lot of students or potential students that would like to advance their education and become massage therapists, which is really in need right now. It's a very needed part of the workforce. Every spa, chiropractic office, acupuncture clinic is hiring. We get calls every week looking for graduates to fill positions, but it's very hard for people that have small children to attend a program. And we've really set it up. We have a 9-month program and also a 12-month program. And our focus is for working people to be able to do this program. But even then, unless the students have a lot of family support, if they have young children, it's pretty difficult for them to advance their education in this way. And, you know, we're just one training program. I know there are so many others out there, but this is, you know, what people are facing that want to advance their education and have a better career, but have a lot of limitations when they have small children. So I'll leave it there.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah.
Ann Lynn.
Hi, you all. My name is Ann Lynn Hall. I'm the CEO of Prosperity Works, and the mission of Prosperity Works is really around economic prosperity for all New Mexicans. And we are strong believers that early childhood is the foundation for economic prosperity for families. That's where kiddos learn lots of really important skills that help lead to other skills for the rest of their education, so that they can make it over and join Sarah and doing work over there as well. So this is really the foundation of all of that. As a single mama to a little person, I can just say that in the last couple of years, making sure that we have high quality childcare and education has been a real challenge, and that it really feels to me like for small business owners, there's this beautiful flexibility around being able to work when you can around school schedules and childcare needs. But also in small business, it means that there isn't other people to cover for you if you need help. So it's sort of that push and pull related to flexibility, but super happy to be here to talk about the impact of early childhood and K-12 education on small businesses.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you.
Trish?
Hi, everyone. I'm Trish Lopez. I run Teen Years, Tech Savvy Teens, helping seniors learn technology through one-on-one coaching. And so I work with teens. I'm also a mom to a 9-year-old and an auntie to 4 nephews and nieces. And so they all, between all of them, go to private school, public schools, and charter schools. And among the teens, it's homeschooling along with the other groups of schooling. So I care about youth a lot in general because I know that so many problems start, like I'm a big believer in addressing problems at the core, which is what this bill is all about. And I like that there's a part of the bill that affects at-risk youth. So many people I grew up around, I'm sure myself included, would be considered at-risk youth growing up in Belen. And so the perspective I have is these problems are so enormous, something like public school, the problems that politicians are trying to solve, which really the people need to be solving, and hopefully the politicians doing what we want, so to change things, as we know, is like, it's huge that this finally passed in the legislature to get on the ballot. So I really hope it does pass. And it's also really important that we see what's working elsewhere and don't squander this opportunity. It's to me, it's really important that we pay attention to what the real issues are, see what's working in other states. That's just really important to me. Like, I'm concerned very much about the mental health of the teens I work with. I leave it a very welcoming, open environment. And so even though part of the majority of this bill is focused on early childhood, I just want to remind people that a big part of it is also focused on at-risk youth of any age, K through 12. So I don't want to take up too much time because I know we're ending in 9 minutes. That's my perspective, and I'd be happy to share more anytime. I'll put my contact info in the chat.
Thank you so much, Trish. Jordan?
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Perfect. But my name is Jordan Tate. I own Creative Duke Media, and we do it's a design firm. We do graphics, websites, advertising materials, and also drone services. And just in general, this topic is very important to me. A lot of times when it comes to policy and just seeing the way that this country in general is progressing, it's really important to be in tune to things like this. And this bill means a lot to me. I'm a new parent. My daughter is 1 year old, and it's a lot of energy. And I know it takes a lot to multitask, take care of your family, work, make sure everything is going according to plan, as well as you can, so something like this is crucial just for us as parents and business owners and as a community in general. Even if I didn't have kids, I could see how this is important as a community, because like it feels like to me every year or just as time goes on, we become more of an individual society. Individualism just plagues everything, and something like this is important to ease that just a little bit. We'll take what we could get at this point. So it's important to me, and I'm really praying that it will pass. And I know where the funds go, that's a whole nother thing, but just to get it passed, that's the first step, and I'm excited about it.
Thank you, Jordan. Carl, last but not least.
I'm always at the last but not least. The W in it. So my name is Carl Wolfrat. I am the owner proprietor of Casa Buena Property Inspections. I do home inspections for real estate transactions. And I'm also a fairly new parent. I have a child who will be starting kindergarten in the fall, and a child will be starting 3rd grade at the Montessori de Rio Grande Charter School. I didn't grow up in New Mexico. I moved here in my 20s. And so I haven't really engaged with the educational system here until my children started. And we were lucky that on our first apply, we got into the lottery at the Montessori school. And we've been really thrilled with our experience so far. But I know I have friends whose children go to other schools, and I know that there's always need for more funding for programs. I've also been really, honestly, just kind of impressed with the community centers and the other things that are available in our state for children, because I've always heard, I grew up in suburban Houston, and I feel like our school system was very well funded. I felt like there were ample opportunities for music and arts and athletics, and so now taking that lens as an adult with small children in New Mexico, I'm learning a lot, especially as my children are at the beginning of their educational journey. I, of course, would love to see more money come into New Mexico, because I always hear the worst about how we rank in national standings for education and a variety of metrics. And yeah, if the money is available, that would be certainly, in my opinion, the best way to ensure that we can, keep edging our way up those lists and not be at the bottom. But I would, as Stacy brought up earlier, I was interested in what the opposition to this would be. It kind of seems, now that we have the opportunity and the momentum working with it, why people would be against it, or what other avenues within the state, whether organizations might be looking to tap into some of that money as well, or try to piggyback onto that. So I think those are all things that we should be careful to watch for and see as these discussions move forward. But I'm all for more childhood spending.
Thanks, Carl. So I think if it's okay with all of you, what we'll do here is, if everybody can hold in mind a quick story to share with others, I'm going to transition it, ask Perry if she can do a summary, and then go to next steps. And that will be, we may end up at the hour at that point. And if people can stay a little longer to share stories, we'll do that. And otherwise, we'll do it another way. So I'm going to pass it over to you, Perry.
Cool. I just reclaimed my host privileges, I believe. I hope that succeeded. Thank you so much, everybody. That was just a lot of great perspectives and sharing, and I want to try to summarize in 4 minutes. Let me quickly share my screen while I also just share, I'm a small business person, I'm a parent. I also come from a family of teachers. Both my parents are public school teachers. So I know, school funding it's a good thing to do. Also, as a small business owner, I'm in a mixed household. My husband has a job. And I don't know if any of you relate to this as a business, as the entrepreneur, self-employed person in the family, but I get stuck with the childcare because I have the flexibility. And so I'm the one who definitely am happy when there's other resources. I've also had some really great experiences with community centers. I think some of the resources that are here, like Duranis Community Center, are great. And so it's kind of like more of that, please, I think, is part of what I'm thinking when I look at existing resources, and definitely just increase, that the repeat annual big infusion of funds, and then also including targeting at-risk youth and trying to aim for more equitable outcomes. Sounds really great to me. As a small business person, and a community member. And there's also like the workforce development aspect of this that I think about as a small business owner. Having, an educated group of young people coming up into the workforce is also good. Now, I'm saying that, of course, as myself, my small business. As Seed, we're, again, running a non-advocacy, non-lobbying campaign here. And I'm just going to quickly show a couple of things that we have created to stay engaged about this and to, we want to continue hearing from you and keeping small business owners in the small business community thinking about this, sharing it with other small business owners, other self-employed people, So Seed created a few things. One is this backgrounder page, and I shared this with a number of you. And what is the permanent school fund ballot question? Some basic background and some clarifying which terms you'll see used, but over on the right side, also some actions. And again, we're not telling you how to vote, but we're telling you to vote. Register for our meeting today. We may squeeze in another meeting in the near future, but definitely from now until the election, we're hoping to continue sharing the issue. If you haven't signed up for email updates, you can do that. And so this page is, again, our resource backgrounder page. We're also hoping to share more kind of creative assets like these ones that we created. Maria Jones, who's on my team, created these. Lisa Barrow created the page here. So huge thanks to them. So this is one way to stay in touch with us. Here's that sign up page if you want to get email updates. And here's something I wanted to share as well, a form. I was talking to some of you and some people who aren't at this meeting who weren't able to come to the meeting about how to share a story or two, and which I'm going to kick over. It's 1 o'clock now. And I'll ask anybody to share any last stories that they want to share, but also you could come here and I can share this form with you. Enter your name, your business name, we'll link back to your business, give us a photo and give us a quote or two. Like, what has been your experience with the public education system in New Mexico or public schools, either as a parent or not as a parent. So we created this form to try to make it easy. So Seed is just, again, invested in trying to bring your voices in, hear from you. What are the things that are challenges? What would you like to see in the schools? How does it affect you? And we're just creating these pages to help make that continue to happen. So that's mostly what I wanted to share, are these links, and it looks like those links. Let's see. I'm seeing Sandra sharing a number of them in the chat, so that's great. I'll stop sharing then, and just ask if there's any other stories or experiences or challenges or questions anybody wants to share before we wrap up, because it's 1:01.
I was just going to say real quick. Something that I thought about earlier is when COVID became, the all-consuming thing that it was. I don't remember where I heard the statistics, but there was an article about how with the child tax credits that came through, that small, it seemed like not a huge amount of money, but something to help with families, but that it had this significant impact on raising children out of poverty. And it just seemed like, in the grand scheme of budgets, and also within the budget of this, something along the lines of that really made a huge impact on families, especially families in New Mexico and other states that have high rates of poverty, both in families and with children. So I think if this is also a thing that can address that, we definitely have a poverty issue in New Mexico. I would love to see some of this money help alleviate some of that somehow.
Do you, and
thanks, yes.
Do you want to pile on that for a quick comment?
Sure. I was just trying to be cognizant of time. As a parent, one of the things that I've really paid attention to is, and I think about the month of January when the Omicron variant went pretty high for folks. And half of the month of January, my child's school, he couldn't go to school just because there were folks that were, there were exposures in the school. And so I think as a small business owner, as we can be flexible with our employees who have children, just knowing that childcare has always been something that folks needed some flexibility on. But I think even more so now that when we can be flexible, that's the way that we help maintain a really great workforce as we're able to do that. And so I'm really excited about figuring out how we use the permanent fund to support childcare institutions in K-12 and families overall, because it's really critical for our communities.
Thanks, Anlin.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have a comment that they would like to make? Perry has shared in the chat that our next meeting, and we will continue this discussion then.
Yeah, that's part of, we have an open meeting every second Tuesday, and it's at noon. They'll be listed at the events page at our website, seednm.org. And you just got to register just like you did for this one. And it'll be every second Tuesday. And then today's meeting, like this is
so it's not every 2 weeks, it's every second Tuesday in a month.
So yes. Thank you for clarifying. I didn't mean to say it that way. Yeah, every second Tuesday is a month. And this was an extra meeting like today. And we do occasionally do issue specific add-ons, but otherwise, please join us every month in our open meetings.
And thank you very much for those of you who agreed to come and talk. We did run a little bit confused on time, but we are still eager to hear your stories, and we will find you.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, everybody.
Thanks, Sandra, and thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank
Stay in
you.
touch.